So let us talk of productions and operations management. It was due for a long time that we have conducted the classes of marketing management, and we have conducted the classes of project also in second year. But we were uh, we were looking after that when we can schedule the class for productions and operations management. So I thought that we can do it now. Last time, if you can recall, we were doing the discussion on uh, quality. So we will talk of the quality only today. We will try to conclude the discussion on quality today. And then we also have the Six Sigma in line. And Six Sigma is something that I was telling you other day also, that better it is that you first get your concepts up in context of the distribution, normal distribution, standard deviation, basic statistics you must know. So I hope that today we will be able to complete quality discussion, and then tomorrow maybe we will schedule it for Six Sigma. So when we will be done with this, then I think we will be able to, kind of continue it. Okay. So quality, I think we have done this. So the initial things which we have already covered in class, because it's been some time, so I am doing a very quick recap of what we have already talked about. This that I am starting from is actually already covered. So very quickly let us review what we have done this what we have done by now. By quality, we were looking at that the features and the characteristics of a product or service that bears on its ability to satisfy the stated and implied needs. This is how we were looking at quality. I have already told you that the quality basically we look at as to be comparison of customers' expectation and perceptions. So, in this context, only we have actually talked about house of quality, if you will remember. If I can take you to the house of quality thing that we have already discussed, this is something that we were doing when we were talking of house of quality. In this itself, if you would look at to this left hand side of the thing, which is now currently highlighted with this red oval, we were saying that this is what the customer would want, and this is what how the producer, the production manager, would try to attend to those demands of consumers. When we were doing this, we were actually looking at the customers' expectations, and actually how or are we able to fulfill the customers' expectations. So this comparison only is something that we are talking of as quality. Now, uh, so this quality thing in this context we will try to understand. So it is kind of a comparison of uh, expectations and perceptions of the consumers. So with this understanding, uh, we will actually go ahead in our discussion on quality. We know that quality has larger implications, and these implications can be in terms of the company's reputation, product liability, global implications. We have already done this, but this is something that we must know, that if you are able to maintain the quality of your product, then I think it will be something that is going to be too much beneficial for all of us. And we will actually try to look at some examples which we have already covered, but let us quickly review those examples also, so as to uh, so as to look at that how actually can quality help us, and why it becomes so important for us to be and to be so much conscious about maintaining the quality of the product when we are into the production settings. We were talking of this product liability as one of the implications of quality, because company reputation and the global implications is something which are very plain to understand, because we know that if you are known as a quality manufacturer, so obviously your reputation is going to be quite high and quite good. Similarly, you are going to be accepted as a global company, as a good company, as a standardized company. So it has the reputation and the global implications also. But how come the quality is related to the product liability? So when we were discussing this, we were actually looking at that gone are the days when you would supply something to the consumers, and if the consumers don't like it, they would forget it. We are living in the era wherein consumers are having that power of forming and organized movements, and they can actually put you at the back foot as a producer, as a manufacturer. So when a consumer stands against you because they have received faulty products, because they have received less quality products, so you actually are now looking at this product as to be a liability rather than to be an asset to you. So you as a producer would want the consumers to be looking at as your to be looking at your product as an asset rather than to be a liability, because if a product becomes the reason uh, it becomes the reason for consumers to speak negatively about the company, then it becomes a liability. And with this system in place, wherein you have the social media, where you have the consumers can come together, the Facebook story that we have discussed about the Amul, how a consumer in Gurgaon has actually uploaded this story of Amul and how it has created the havoc. We have already discussed about that how Mother Dairy founder has to come out loud and clear and have to do a press conference to just let the people know that no, this is not the case, and our this thing is very good. So this thing is quite prominent today. So better it is that it will reach to a point where consumers start speaking about the product in negative terms. So because consumers has the right to be safe, has the right to be informed, has right to choose, and has right to be heard, seek redressal, and to be educated. So all these rights to the consumers make him more powerful. And when you add the social media today into this current list, it becomes escalated in the sense that you actually are speaking about your liability getting magnified and your liability getting multiplied. So you actually have to be taking care of the product's quality so that you do not end up into the into a situation into an instance when you are now looking at your product as to be liability. So a poor product is a liability, a good product is your asset. This is how we are looking at it. We know that quality can help us in improving the sales, because when it is a quality product, you actually are demanded by the consumers at large, because you are a reputed company, you are known for your quality. And when you are improving sales, then obviously it brings the economies of scale into perspective, and this is how you also kind of increase your productivity. That is how we kind of look at it. It also decreases the cost, and when you look at both these things combined, you say that the productivity has increased. We have looked at how it has improved sales because your product is good. People want to have a better quality product, so it would skype up the sales. It would decrease the cost because when you have a good quality product in hand, so you will have the lesser people approaching you to rectify your products because it has faulted, because it was not a quality product. And hence you have saved a lot of cost. That can be the repairing cost, that can be the warranty cost, that can be all those costs that you incur in order to satisfy the consumer, because he have encountered problem in the functionality of the product, because etymologically it was not having a better quality. So this is how we look at that. If the quality is maintained, we can think of that it improves sales. At the same time, it decreases the cost, and that creates a synchronizing effect, and that actually leads to the increase in productivity, which obviously would lead to the increase of the profits. So this is how we look at why quality is important. So the same thing, how improved quality and increased profits are related through sales gains and the reduced costs, and the same thing is actually depicted with a different thing. Now let us look at another perspective here. Uh, that when we talk of quality maintenance, now we have looked at that the quality is something which can increase the sales of the product, which can decrease the cost also associated with the product at large. So which means if we have to ensure quality, we also have to actually incur some cost in order to maintain the quality of the product. So if you would go to the literature of productions and operations management, the literature talks of four basic types of costs which are associated with maintenance of the quality of the product. Or in other words, these are the costs which a production manager has to incur so that he is sure that the product which is now produced is a quality product. So let us very briefly look at what these four costs are. So first we talk about the prevention cost. I have already discussed with you in the classroom that prevention, as the name itself suggests, all those costs which are incurred so that the product comes out good as far as quality is concerned. Now, for example, you you give training to your production and the floor people, your laborers who are producing things for you, so that they do not commit mistakes, so that they can use your machinery in a better sense. Such costs are prevention costs. You are preventing the failure of quality. You do not want the product to be not meeting the desired standards of your quality. So these costs are prevention costs. You just need to look at the name, and from there you have to link up that what would it be. Appraisal cost, HR people would know and would have heard this term. Appraisal costs would be to look at the standards and the structures that you have set. Are they okay now? Are they in a position that they would, are they being followed? So you can talk of the different testing being done, and that actually is something that would come under the appraisal cost, because in that also you incur the costs. Then comes the internal failure. Internal failure is when you have a product ready with you, and then the final inspection when it is happening, then you realize that there is some problem with this product, so you are not finally dispatching it because you feel that this is not something which is actually quantifying towards the standards that you have set for yourself. So you say that further it has to be reworked on, and because the product has already gone through the entire production cycle, so you have already incurred the cost for its production, and because now it is going back to the production cycle, so you are again incurring the cost. So that is also a cost, and that is something which is called as internal failure. uh, but it is providing, it is stopping a faulty product to go to the dispatch and to reach to the consumer. Then we have the external failure. External failure is the case when a product which was a faulty product as far as the quality is concerned has not been able to be identified by the manufacturers when it was with them. Now it has been dispatched and now it has reached to the consumer. When it has reached to the consumer, then it got faulty. It is like that you purchased a very brand new washing machine. It's been 10 days, and on 10th day it broke down, and then you feel like that what the hell has gone wrong with this washing machine now. This is an external failure. So you do not expect a new product to fault within the 10 days of its usage, because it was not actually fulfilling the standards and maybe the quality of the product. So now, because the product is new, every company nowadays is offering the warranty systems, guarantee systems, or whatever. So you take this thing back to the manufacturer, and then manufacturer has to repair it and has to give back to you the stuff after correcting it. So in that also, the manufacturer actually incurs some cost, and that cost is something that you're looking at as external failure. Now, why this thing is important is that when you look at the above three costs, these are yet something which can be traced, which are something which are still in your control. But external failure is something which is beyond your control, because the product has already reached out, and you do not know, no longer you have control over the damage that this external failure can potentially do to your product and brand. Now, for instance, if the product has failed at the final inspection within your manufacturing premises, you send it back to the production cycle, and then the product again is being worked on and is okay. So you know that per unit cost that you are incurring, this is your total cost that has gone into it. But when the product has reached, now this washing machine example that you were taking, so when this washing machine has reached to the consumer, now the consumer has made it available to you to get it rectified. You have rectified it and you have given the product back to the consumer. That is fantastic. All set, all good. But you just have to also imagine the intangible cost that is associated with it. Now, what if you have repaired it? What if you have rectified it? But I, as a consumer, would have that thing in my mind, that how come a new product is actually breaking down? Why am I burning say 20,000 or say 15,000 rupees onto a brand new product only to realize that it is getting malfunctioned on day 10th, and then after 10 days I am having a repaired product in my hands. So at the first place I should not be having a repaired product in my hand, I should be having a brand new product. So it is impacting the positioning of the brand in the mind of the consumer. So this is something that we actually look at in external failure. Put this external failure in perspective, and you would invariably realize that it has done the disastrous thing to the companies. Now, for example, this is a case in place. GE has a product that they manufacture, that they are dishwashers. So there were instances, and it is recorded in your textbook also, that dishwashers has some problems, and the GE has to recall these dishwashers, and because it was under warranty, and they have to incur the costs onto it. And you would be amazed to know that it is said that around 3.1 million washing machines has come back to GE, and they have repaired all of them, and then they have incurred the cost on them also. Now, just to get a sense of it, if a machine you take to a manufacturer and if they rectify it, now for example, just for a visit of a technician to your home because your washing machine has defaulted or your dishwasher has defaulted, they would take around 500 to 600 rupees even today. Now, for example, IFB takes 600 rupees per visit. So you have 3.1 million dishwashers defaulted. If you can kind of do the maths, and if you can multiply, this is only the visits that you're talking about, then the other extra things that you would be charging from the consumers, had it been a good product but would have faulted out of the warranty products, then you would have actually incurred this profit thing to you. Now, because it has defaulted, it is said that the costs that GE has incurred in rectifying this product has actually overpowered the profits that they have made by selling these 3.1 million washing machines. So, which means the cost in rectifying these products has eaten up the profits of selling of these 3.1 million washing machines. Now, it is not only about the monetary things that we are talking here. We are also conscious about what damage it would have done to the brand GE. So, if 3.1 billion washing machines, maybe the media would also report it, maybe the experts would also talk about it. So, maybe you will think 10 times before you take a decision of buying this product, right? So this is actually how we actually have to look at and understand that you have to be very much sure that when you are getting the product out, it has to be a product which is not defaulting, right? Otherwise, this is going to create problem too. Now, this is another example when Daimler and Chrysler has merged together. So when this happened, then you know then the then the point in mind is that it is said that these people, the Mercedes, actually has started compromising onto the money that they were paying to their suppliers, and as a result of it, they say that the suppliers have started giving them compromised spare parts, and because of that, the Mercedes that they were selling, because the time when the merger took place, the Chrysler was in losses, and to cover up those losses, they were actually trying to have some austerity measures in place. And when they were having this austerity measures in place, obviously you actually then talk of that you actually then talk of that you have to be taking care of this thing. Then you would see that the Mercedes has started witnessing problems with its brakes, has started witnessing problems with its fuel tank, and they say that in 2004 they have more than 6 lakh, more than 6 lakh recalls of Mercedes being talked about here. So when this is happening, this is external failure, and if this is external failure, you actually have to get rid of this. Otherwise, it is a very very big problem, right? Okay, so which means so this is that faulty fuel pump, uh, and they have to kind of face the tunes of it, and they say that because of this they have recalled, you count how many zeros are there, so these are like 13 million cars were recalled in 2005. So this is a big problem, that they are facing. Okay, so this is what the quality compromise can do to you, and this is what the external failure is about. Okay, then they say that it has costed Mercedes this much of money uh, in recalls, which is a huge amount. And forget about this monetary evaluation of the losses that would have been witnessed by the Mercedes as a company. But it is not only this, but it is also about that they say that the BMW has actually surpassed uh, the sales of Mercedes, which they say is problem even till date. So this is how we can kind of look at it, that what damage the external failure can do to you, and uh, it can actually cost you a heaven. So this is a clipping which tells you that Mercedes-Benz admitting that the merger that has took place is actually a problem, and they actually have to acknowledge it. And this acknowledgement was a very important thing from the quality perspective. That if you compromise on quality for whatsoever reasons, it is going to be a big problem to you. Another news telling that how Chrysler marriage failed in 1998. 36 billion dollar deals was happening, and it was sold in 2007 in just 7.4 billion rupees. So you think that the kind of losses that would have incurred to them from 36 billion to 7.4 billion, and this is a problem. This is how the external failure can ruin how the things are happening to you. Okay, this is the Toyota's case. The Lexus and the Corollas, they have also faced these problems of recalls. uh, Toyota has recalled 1.2 million cars, so you would be looking at these things uh, every now and then, uh, wherein the people are saying that, uh, wherein you are reading that so many cars has been recalled by the people, and people actually are taking their cars taking their cars to these showrooms and getting them rectified, and this is a quality failure that we are actually talking about. Toyota again, world's biggest recall in 16 years, and they were into problems. This is kind of a recall timeline for Toyota, wherein it was like that they have had issues in quality. Now these are big names; these are not small names. So we are talking of Toyota, we are talking of Mercedes, we are talking of GE. These are not small names. If these people are actually having such problems, then that would mean that the quality is a real issue, even with the established players. So these are the reasons because of which the cars were recalled: the floor mat, the brake override, the accelerator pedals, and whatnot. So all these have been issues, and you just cannot, and we cannot say that these companies are not considerate about the quality checks. They have been doing their quality checks. They have been doing their entire things, but still the quality has been an issue for them. And when it is an issue for them, so it needs to be looked after, and that all comes under external failure. Then the economic impact. This is a kind of a quick clip which tells you that the shares has fell by 15%, which is a huge amount for a company like Toyota. And then look at this last thing, which is the Toyota's reputation, how it has negatively impacted the Toyota as a company, and it is a huge loss that you would actually talk about. Now, this is a recent picture not so long back when the low floor buses were launched in Delhi, and it was a full glare that you were talking when this launching took place, and soon it was the talk of the town because Delhi was receiving it maybe for the first time, and then you have so very soon you have started witnessing uh, this thing, wherein there were failures for these buses also, and 300 low floor buses break down daily. And when you have these failures taking place, then you know that it is another case of external failure, which is a very bad thing to think about, and the kind of damage it would have done, you can just think about it. Maruti is also not far behind. Maruti has also faced the recalls. So what I'm telling you now is these are all examples of external failures. Uh, this is BMW recalling more than 2 lakh cars. Another problem because of quality thing. Now this is a clip which actually tells you that how you are actually also being
Yesterday,
reported by
GM
media,
recalled another 1.3 million vehicles due to power
and you can
steering
watch
issues.
this
This comes on the
entire
heels of
video
that
on
massive GM
YouTube,
recall, which involved
which actually
2.6
speaks
million
about
cars
the
with
GE
ignition switch
recalls
problems that the company has known about for 10
and
years.
how it
KG
has
Shannon Murray
impacted
has
them,
our top story now from
covered
Burnett
by
Road
media.
in North Austin. Well, I know, Shannon, lots of these recalls have people talking about how little we know about what we drive.
Tyler, Nissan, Toyota, and General Motors have all announced major recalls this year, some with deadly consequences. So if you're car shopping, what do you need to do to make sure you don't wind up with the car under recall? Mechanics here at Advanced Automotive say there are so many recalls out there, you better do your homework. Inside Advanced Automotive on Burnett Road, mechanics work on vehicles of all makes and models.
And we do see just about every type of car made.
So then you see this happening, that Toyota also paying 1.2 billion settlement with US over recall. So this is the damage the external failure can do to you. It is being covered in news, the media talking about you, and then you can just cannot evaluate it. The point that I'm trying to make here is this, that you might still calculate the dollar losses to the companies because of external failure, but what you cannot measure is the image loss. What you cannot measure is the reputation loss. What you cannot measure is how the consumers would start changing their thoughts about these companies when this happens. So this is what the quality failure can do to you, and hence we were saying that it is so important to invest into quality and to think of all the measures that you can potentially take in order to have a quality product in place. So uh, you imagine some time back I was sharing with you. So if you would board a domestic airline in India, you would have this pitch coming from the crew members saying that if no one is aboard this aircraft if they are carrying Samsung Galaxy Note 4. Now imagine the kind of damage it would have done to the reputation of Samsung as a company. Now this never gets calculated into the monetary terms. This is also part of the cost that you incur. So what we are saying is there is something which is cost of quality. So the cost of quality is the cost that you incur so that quality is maintained. There is also something which is cost of poor quality. Uh, Cost of poor quality is the cost that you have to incur if your quality fails. So external failure is the cost of poor quality, because the companies who have rectified the brands, rectified the products because they have failed outside, they have to incur some cost, and that is the cost of poor quality. Very important to note here is that the cost of poor quality would always be larger than the cost of quality, right? So what we are saying is this slide essentially means that the cost that you incur so that the product that you produce is a quality product would be less than the cost that you have to incur if your product fails because it was not a quality product. So in other words, the cost that any company, or be it Toyota, be it Maruti, be it BMW, be it whosoever, has incurred in order to rectify the products was would be a larger cost than the cost that they have to bear if they have to get the quality management system in place. So that would mean the R&D is an essential part of it. So one might argue that why to invest so heavily into R&D, and the reason is quite simple, because the cost of R&D might be less than the cost of poor quality, and at times this cost can actually cost you the complete brand itself, which you would never like to happen. So this is about the four costs of quality, and how the external failure is an important thing, and we need to kind of look at it. Then we also have a lesson coming out of this discussion, and that lesson is that we actually have to accept this, that whatever measures we take, it might happen that we actually are having problems in quality. So you would not imagine a company who would have never failed in terms of quality. So just a while ago we were discussing that uh, the likes of Mercedes, the likes of Toyota, these brands are known brands. It is not the case that they are not doing their quality checks. They are not exercising their quality checks. They are exercising, but still there are some problems. So the question here is not to be absolutely fail-proof. We will talk of Six Sigma. Even if you will apply Six Sigma into the productions, then even Six Sigma says that you would have 4 defects per million. So which means in every 10 lakh products that you're producing, you might have the probability of producing 4 quality products. So which means the zero defects is not the possibility. Maybe it is a perfection that is non achievable. So what now the question is that even if you fail into quality, which is bound to happen, or which is rather I should not say it is bound to happen, which might happen. The question here is how do you deal with that situation? That becomes more important. So that is why we talk of ethics also in conjunction with the management of the quality. So the quality management is not only to produce the quality products, but the quality management also encompasses when the quality failure took place, then how you would kind of look at that failure, and how do you handle the situation. That becomes important. So this is the Bridgestone case. Bridgestone has produced millions of defective tires, and that has resulted into thousands of accidents, including 271 deaths. So the Bridgestone has realized that maybe it is the faulty tires that has resulted into this, but instead of looking at this quality failure as a responsible company, it is said that they have actually created a half price clearance sales of those defective tires. That was obviously an unethical conduct, and when it was caught, then they have to recall their 14.4 million tires from the market, and they also have to kind of pay some penalty to the authorities also. So now it is not only about the penalty that they would have paid, but it is about when you as a consumer come to know that the Bridgestone, even after knowing that they are the faulty tires, they keep on selling it to you. What type of image that you carry? Now, would you buy Bridgestone tires? That is a larger question. So it is not only maintenance of quality, but it is also uh, the reaction of the company, reactions of the potential managers, of the production managers to the quality failures, that is equally important. In contrast to that case of Bridgestone tires, have a look at this case of TYLENOL. It is a super case. It is the story of 1982. You must read this case. Uh, Tylenol is a product from Johnson and Johnson. It used to be a capsule, and this capsule was taken for headache. So if you have headache, you would take the capsules of Tylenol. So what happened in 1982? 7 people were found dead after taking the Tylenol capsule, and these 7 reported deaths would have the same one thing in common, that they all have taken this capsule. So when it was scrutinized, it was found out that there is cyanide available onto the capsules of Tylenol. You understand what cyanide can do to you, so it is one of the most dangerous substance, which is absolutely in contrast to the human life. You take it and you are no more. So when this news became open, Tylenol has 37% market share in those days with the revenue of 1 million US dollars. And don't forget that we are talking of 1982. So 1 million US dollars worth of revenue in 1982, it was a very, very big amount. Having known this, when this traveled into the market, the Johnson and Johnson has taken up the responsibility, and they have recalled all the 31 million bottles that was in that were available into the market, which has resulted into loss of more than $100 million. Then if you would read down this case, you would invariably realize that the Johnson and Johnson as a company was not responsible for mixing of the cyanide with the Tylenol capsules. In fact, there is someone who have done tampering with the packaging of the Tylenol capsules, and intentionally he or she, whosoever he or she is, they have mixed up the cyanide with the capsules, and that is responsible for the deaths taking place. So the Johnson and Johnson is not straight away responsible for doing that. So in Bridgestone case that we have just discussed, Bridgestone has produced those products, so the products were faulty. Here the capsule is not faulty. Here the Tylenol is not faulty. If you would consume that capsule without without the cyanide into it, it would obviously cure you. So there is no problem with this. So which means the Tylenol is not at fault as far as this thing has happened. So maybe the retailers where the bottles are being sold, there the tampering would have taken place. So we don't know where it would have happened. So it is the problem at the end of the retailers or somewhere into the supply chain management that would have happened. But the point here is that despite not being directly responsible for this, the Tylenol has taken it onto them that this is our product, and they have actually recalled all the bottles that were in circulation, 31 million bottles, and $100 million loss that they have incurred and they have accepted. So this is not only it is about acknowledging that this is your product. Whosoever is responsible for it, we will talk about it later. But today, because it is me, someone who has eaten my capsule has died, so I have to take responsibility of it, right? So Johnson and Johnson has also offered a $100,000 reward for anyone who can tell who is the Tylenol killer or who would have kind of tampered with the bottle and all. So when we are doing this, this is kind of a responsibility taken. So the quality has failed, whatever has failed, the product has failed, but I have to take the responsibility if I am the one. So by acknowledging this, the Johnson Johnson has not even stopped there. They have actually tied up with Chicago Police Department. They have also kind of they were also in talks with Food and Drug Administration Department of USA, which is FDA. So because these are the two people who are responsible for maintenance of law and order and to look after, to find out the man who has tampered with the bottles of Tylenol. So they have kind of get in conjunction with them, and they have worked together to find out who was responsible for all this. And when they have responded like this to this crisis, then you imagine a company who was sitting at 37% share into the market, the share has fell down to the extent of 5% in no time. And then you would expect that negative information to the media and to the newspapers being written about them. But instead of that, the way they have reacted to the situation, then the Washington Post, the leading newspaper, writing how effectively the Johnson and Johnson has demonstrated that how big businesses should handle a disaster, right? So this is your acceptance of the things, and this is how responsibly you kind of do that. And have a look at this now. Tylenol made a hero out of Johnson and Johnson. So the recall that started all of that. So something which is not their fault, something which should have actually been a dent to their image, actually they have utilized this to get it into the mind of the people again. And as a result, uh, you know they have actually surpassed that negative image into the mind of the people. And then they have again reached to the position where they have actually they have actually got accepted by the people at large, right? So now it is written here that they have reintroduced the capsules, but in a new triple sealed package, and they have heavily priced promotions, and within several years Talcon again has become the most popular over-the-counter drug in the USA. So this is how you react to the situations. So this is effective crisis management. A lot of B schools talking about this as a case, how to effectively manage the crisis at that big level. So what we have discussed by now is the quality. What is quality? What will be the cost associated with quality, and the cost of poor quality would be larger than the cost of quality. And despite all the measures in place, it might happen that you are getting issues in your quality. So in those cases, how do you react? That also becomes important. And we have looked at two cases where the one company has not responded and acknowledged to their quality failure, and the one company who has acknowledged to the quality failure, and we have looked at the differences. Now, in continuation to that, we also talk of this quality standards, which are another things which actually ensures that how we can maintain the quality. So, we have ISO 9000 series, which ensures the process which is to be followed when you are generating a product, and if you follow this process, then you would be creating a quality product, right? So, this is the first ever international effort to maintain the quality of the products, to assure the quality standards to the consumers who are buying these products, and that has taken up the leap forward in the quality management, and that is looked at as to be an important thing which has been accepted by lot many countries across the globe. And these standards, after having seen their acceptance, they have been further updated with time to time, and you see that the 9000 series was updated with 9001 and 2000 series, where the customer's requirement and satisfaction was also considered, despite the simple focus onto the quality management processes and the detailed documentation and the work instructions and the record keeping, which was early there into this 9000 series. So now, in addition to that, they have added this thing also when they have updated these standards in 2001. That was all further updated in 2000, in another standards that were released, ISO 14000, where in addition to those, the environmental consideration was also part of the ISO things. So these are also some efforts which they say are very much part of your quality management program. So now, having done this basic discussion around quality, let us talk of some tools which are used while maintaining the quality of the products as an operations manager. So we have this concept which is total quality management. So total quality management is something which we treat as to be the bundle of tools. So anything that you feel can potentially be used to look at um, can potentially be used to look at uh, those things which can make you to ensure the quality of the product. All those things can be made part of the TQM. So TQM is not only these things, but you can also talk of the other things also. Okay. So then we talk of these seven things as of now. Then we talk of total quality management, and these things are continuous improvement, Six Sigma, employee empowerment, benchmarking, just-in-time, Taguchi concepts, and the knowledge of TQM tools. So let us start from continuous improvement with the first thing in place. Continuous improvement actually says that operations production can be improved, and there is no end to this improvement, right? So the end goal is perfection, which is unattainable. This is how we are looking at it. So end goal is uh, perfection, and that is not attainable, so which means continuous. It is always going to be continuous. So further keep on increasing with the small bits. They are also important. Now the man who is said to be kind of have contributed a lot to this continuous improvement thing was W. Edwards Deming. uh, In fact, this series, which is PDCA, which is called as a a famous series of continuous improvement, plan, do, check, and act, was actually called as the Deming cycle, right? Deming is the name of this fellow. This series is called as Deming cycle. This is the cycle that you need to follow if you really want to do the continuous improvement over the things. In Japan, it is also known by the Kaizen approach. In US, they call it as zero defects approach. But the idea is same. The idea is that you have to keep on improving, and to keep on improving, you have to look at this Deming cycle, which is plan, do, check, and act. So the planning means what? You have to plan for the quality. To plan quality doesn't come by its own. You have to plan for it. You have to exercise this plan, so execute this plan. Then you have to check it whether whatever was your plan, is it being followed, is it okay. And then you have to act means if there is some deviation from your plan, then you actually have to kind of act accordingly. You have to get the things in place again. So this is PDCA, which is Deming cycle, in Japan known as Kaizen approach. Elsewhere it might be known with different names, but essentially the point is that you have to keep on improving the things in whatever capacity, in the smallest levels of capacity. If someone wants to improve it, let them do it, and that is the concept of continuous improvement. Number one tool of TQM. Six Sigma. As I was telling you, we will spend time on Six Sigma, and we will cover it tomorrow. And this is going to be a full length discussion. And so I think that as of now, as one of the tools of PQM, I am kind of skipping it up because we will take Six Sigma as a separate tool. I have to take a separate discussion on to Six Sigma. So this is how I am looking at it. So as of now, I am leaving it for the very much reason that I have shared with you. I am going to take a separate discussion on to Six Sigma. So the continuous improvement in the Six Sigma, that is what we have kind of talked about a little bit. Then we look at employee empowerment. Employee empowerment is a concept, as you would all know. If the employees feel empowered, they would contribute better, and that would reduce the quality failure. And how it is said in operations, it is said that 85% of the problems that occurs, they have to do with materials and processes, right? And these materials and processes are actually being handled by the employees. So if employees can be made to be more conscious about what they are doing, if they are made felt empowered, if they are made to feel as to be an important cycle into the entire production process, they actually would result into the better production and the better quality products, right? So it is also proven that when the shop floor employees are given the responsibility, this has actually resulted into the success, which is two times than that would you see when you have not given the responsibility to the shop floor employees. So that is how we are looking at the employees given freedom, employees made to feel empowered, so that whatever they wish to do, whatever way they wish to improve the production cycle, they are allowed to do that, obviously by following certain processes which are in place. But it is about making them to feel part of it, making them to feel that they are in charge of what they are doing, and they have to feel it that they are into it. And when they are into it, then they would be contributing more, and that actually can be reflected into the overall quality management. So what can you do is you can build communication networks including employees, where the employees can transgress with each other very effectively. We have to have open and supportive supervisors. So this is a little HR talk, but we know we have already talked about how through experiments, how this openness, how this motivation can make the people to contribute more. Then we have to move the responsibility to production employee. This is this point. This is this point that we are talking now. And then we have to build their high morale, which is related to the empowerment. And then we have to also have the quality circle, which is the teams which are responsible for maintaining the quality of the product. So this is also, so we talk of continuous improvement, we talk of Six Sigma, we talk of employee empowerment. That also leads to management of quality. Then another tool that we talk of it is benchmarking. Benchmarking, as the name itself suggests, it is a standard, right? So this is written here. It includes selecting a standard. So you set a standard for yourself, that is benchmark for you, and that is what you have to determine. And then you have to determine what to benchmark team, and then they actually kind of execute it, and then you look at your performance in comparison to this benchmark. So obviously, if there are some deflections, then you need to get back to it, and these deflections we will look at mathematically when we will do Six Sigma, right? So uh, when you say in Six Sigma, you are talking of that accuracy to the level that you can only talk of 4 defects per 1 million units. So that means that is a benchmark for you. Six Sigma is a benchmark, right? So we are following Six Sigma, that is your standard. And what is Six Sigma? Obviously, we will talk of this. Then you have just in time also, produce or deliver goods just as they are required. It cuts the cost of quality because you are storing them less, because storage is one of those activities into the entire production cycle which is not adding any value to it. We have talked so many times in operations and productions that there is a production cycle, and the inventory is the part of the production cycle, and inventory is that activity which is actually not adding anything, any value to it. Whereas we have to shorten the production cycle as much as possible, and we also can talk of killing those activities into the entire production cycle which are not contributing anything, and inventory is one of this. We have already talked about inventory management. Taguchi concept, Genichi Taguchi, he has actually talked about a quality loss function. He has given a function which is the mathematical thing, which L says the loss of quality, and D is the distance from the targeted value, and C talks of the cost of deviation. So when you are talking of this benchmarking, so how much away you are from the benchmark. Taguchi, if you would read more about it, Taguchi speaks more of design. What type of design should be there. So this mechanism has to be in place. So Taguchi was of the opinion that you have to resist the defects before even they occur. So you make your design in such a way. We have already talked about designing. So our design has to be such that whatever this design produces, it has to be of quality. So he was actually talking about target-oriented quality, and this he has given in the form of this equation, which is d square multiplied by 2. So more away you are from your target value, greater influence it has onto your quality thing. So the loss of quality would be more, and the cost of deviation is directly proportional, but the distance from the target value is the square proportional, so which is having larger impact. So and in Six Sigma we will talk of this, that how when we are away from our bandwidth, we are away from our benchmarks, when we are away from our control limits, we even don't consider those products, and we just send them back to the production cycle. Then we have check sheets, we have scatter diagrams, we have cause and effect diagrams. So these are very plain terms. We have been hearing about this. So very quickly, let me talk about this. So the check sheets are the graphical representation of the activities in terms of the frequency that is happening. Now, for example, here in an example, it is given if you are producing two products, product number A, product number B, and then in hour number 1, hour number 2, hour number 3, the number of defects are these. So in first hour, you have 3 defective products. Suppose if you are producing 100 units every hour. So out of 100 things, you are having 3 defective products being produced for A and 2 for B. If you can maintain this data, now this might appear to be a very simple thing, very plain thing, very studentized thing. But if you can maintain this very simple data, and then if you can have a bird eye view of an entire set of data, then you would realize that it actually can show you some patterns, right? When it can show you some patterns, then you can actually look at that where you are going wrong, right? And this is how we say that the check sheets are very simple but yet are very very powerful tools, right? It is a very very powerful tool to let you know where you are going wrong and what is the wrong thing that is going on with your production. Now, for instance, if you can look at this productivity and absenteeism plotted over a larger period of time. Now, suppose if you can draw this for 6 months, who has been absent, then what was the productivity in that case. You can actually look at it as a pattern. The pattern would not be visible if you are talking of a very short period of time, but when you would increase your time period, you would realize that the pattern is very clearly visible. As here is it, as the absenteeism increases, the productivity also decreases. We have then the cause and effect diagram. Cause and effect diagram is something which, as the word itself tells you, you always have a cause for any effect. This is how we look at in operations. So effect here is the failure in quality. It's something that has gone wrong. And when this effect you are talking about, you have to identify the causes of it. So what would have made this failure to occur? This is the question now. And when you're talking this, then you can do that in multiple ways. And out of those, one ways is cause and effect diagram. Now there are multiple names which are given to it. This is also known as fishbone diagram. This is also known as Ishikawa diagram because Ishikawa proposed it. And it is a very simple yet a very effective tool that actually becomes part of your secondary data, that becomes part of your reporting thing, which you can always look at, and you can always see that how what is it that is creating the problems for you. Just to put this in perspective, look at this as an instance. Suppose you are talking of a problem. It can be any problem. So we have looked at Toyota. So it was having floor mat recalls. We were looking at Toyota. We were talking of the brakes being failing. So whatever problems that you might take as an instance, this is your potential problem, which is now creating the issues with your quality of the product. Now the thing is that it is not forward engineering, but it is a backward engineering. And the backward engineering would mean that you do not start from A, but you start from Z. Z is the output. Output is the failure. Failure is the problem. Problem is the quality issues. Then you go backward and you try to see that what could be the issue uh, and what could be the reason for this problem to occur. So here we are looking at this problem, and then you go back and you say that this problem might occur because of manpower, because of method, because of material, because of machinery. So these could be the four potential reasons of this thing, and these are the causes, right? So these are the causes that can actually result into that thing. Now, this is not the end to it. These are main causes. Now, the second thing that you might ask here is that what absolutely, what specifically in method that is creating this problem? What specifically in material that can create this problem? What specifically in machinery that can create this problem? When we are talking of it in that detail, we can further talk of some branches of these main causes. And that might look like this. So we might look like that the drilling method which is being used is actually may be responsible for this defect, right? So the overtime, because employees have been working overtime, so that might result into this problem. So because machinery is old, so that might result into this problem. So material that we are using, because we are using steel, so that might result into this problem. So this is now then you can further kind of specify the branches. You can further even go into more detail, and then you can further come to know that what could be the potential more reasons because of which it could potentially happen. So as you are doing the backward engineering, so you are actually creating a curve. Now this is called as fishbone diagram because you look at the shape. This shape actually is looking as if it is a fish. So the fish skull, if you would say, it would look like this. And you know this, so I need not to kind of draw this. And this is exactly which is happening here, right? So that is why it is called as the fishbone diagram. So look at the problem and then trace it backwards and then try to identify the potential reasons for this. Try to get even a more detailed part of it. Try to be as specific as possible. And then what you get is this cause and effect diagram, which can actually let you know that what is the issue in place, right? So this is how we are looking at it. This is how we can actually talk of it. So this is a primary understanding of understanding of the quality and its concepts, right? So if you have any further questions on this what we have discussed by now, we have looked at the quality as a bird eye view, whichever is a part of the scope of the syllabus. Now tomorrow we will cover Six Sigma. At the same time, I will shoot up a link today itself, letting you know the time of it and the link of it. So you can come tomorrow for this link. So in the meanwhile, if you have any questions, uh, I can take those questions, right? So you please write down your questions if there, and we can take those questions. Uh, okay, so we have some comments coming in. Sandeep saying that PM class was needed. Yes, obviously that is why we are doing this. Now, when we are done with the syllabus of marketing management, so now we will talk of the production. So we will try to cover up the substance of productions and operations here, and then we will talk of the other things. So Abhishek saying the two classes are going on at the same time. No, I have had talk with Professor Anand, and he was saying that it is okay. So he is okay with it. That is not an issue, and we are not having the clash also. Okay, so lean system and innovation. We have talked about the innovation a little bit when we were talking about house of quality. Ajay, I don't know whether you are there or not, but since this is not the scope of this discussion, we can always take it as part of our off the line discussion. So we can always do that, right? So I hope that we have covered it, and I hope you have understood it. And then be ready for tomorrow. Tomorrow we will discuss Six Sigma. Would be better if you can come up with the prior understanding of uh, normal distribution, the central tendency, and all that. That would actually help us in looking at the things the way we should be kind of looking at, right? So thank you very much. It has been great to speak to you, and see you tomorrow.